Kylian Mbappe playing still for PSG. There is some news that he might be going to Real Madrid next season. Uh, Mbappe is a fantastic player, there's no doubt. One of the best in the world. Single handedly dragged France to the final this year. Him and Griezmann, I would say. Last year, obviously, they had a better, more cohesive squad. Kylian Mbappe has not been the easiest of characters. If you notice, he has not played well with other superstars. He had problems when he was playing with Neymar. People blamed it on Neymar. Fine, but when Messi came in again, Mbappe seemed to be having issues there as well, and it was normally it was an interesting time in PSG when you had to see Sergio Ramos trying to sort out issues between Messi and Neymar and Mbappe. The question I want to ask you is, Deepak, is being a Real Madrid fan, do you think Mbappe will seamlessly fit in to Real Madrid style of play, and will he? I mean, he might be. Will he be difficult to manage because it's very obvious that he does not like other superstars in the team. He wants to be the main man. Messi wanted to be the main man, but then he had the goods to show for it, and he kept producing incessantly. Cristiano Ronaldo had an ego, Benzema too, but Benzema was always he always knew that Cristiano was the bigger player and managed things accordingly. Will it be easy for Mbappe to take over this PSG team? Because as mentioned before, Jude Bellingham has seamlessly fit into the team. They have some really experienced players. Some obviously not the big superstar, but Bellingham is now the superstar in the team. Will it be okay for Mbappe, or will it be easier because Bellingham doesn't seem to be having the sort of ego that other so-called superstars have?
Yeah, I think that's a very valid question. Just to give people some context, I am a Newcastle United fan through and through, but I also support Real Madrid in the La Liga, and I support France at a national level because of Zidane. But so I've seen Mbappe doing great things for France, and as you said, he pretty much dragged us to a World Cup title last year. Wasn't to be. I am quite twitchy about Mbappe signing for Real Madrid, if I'm being very honest. I'm very excited by the player he is, but as you rightly pointed to, he has had real problems adjusting with when there are bigger players around him. He's never really got on well with the likes of Messi and Neymar and PSG, and he has created a lot of trouble for the club in itself by signing contracts, going back on them, changing his mind. So all this does not bode well for Real Madrid, who are trying to look at him as a long-term replacement for Benzema, perhaps. Now, I think that's flawed in two respects. One, because he's not a person like Benzema, nor is he a player like Benzema. If he's not a person like Benzema because he's not very he's quite selfish in himself. He's not somebody who lets other people thrive. So he'll want attention on himself. And he's not a player like Benzema because he doesn't play centrally most of the time. He likes playing in from the left, cutting in from that channel, and trying to square up people, beating them with their space, and then trying to finish into the top corner from that left hand side. The problem is there's a player who's already excellent who does that for Real Madrid, and his name is Vinicius Junior. He's
Exactly.
going to be playing in a very similar role to Vinicius, and I think that's going to be a rerun of the problems that we saw with Neymar and Mbappe at PSG. So I'm not exactly sure why Real Madrid are so hyped on him. I can understand that from a commercial standpoint, perhaps. He's probably the biggest name out there today, and it going to make complete commercial sense to sign him. But from a game point perspective, I think it'll be very difficult to see. I find it very difficult to see how Vinicius and Mbappe is not going to get in each other's way and to perhaps stumble both their development as players because there's similar age, similar playing style, talisman for their national teams, France and Brazil respectively. I think it's quite troubling that they might end up facing off against each other and one of them has a fallout. That's my biggest concern. I think a better fit than Mbappe would have been the two players that PSG signed this summer up front, who would be Gonzalo Ramos or Randall Colomuani. I think both of them would have done a much better job of taking over Benzema's mantle than Mbappe. So yeah, I'm quite worried, but I can understand the commercial sense and the excitement potentially behind it. What do you think, Monish?
I think there's nothing wrong in wanting the best player in the world right now, which is clearly Kylian Mbappe. Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo are past their peak.
Yeah,
Mbappe showed in the World Cup that he can single-handedly drag a team ahead. He is fantastic in the sense his speed, he's got great skill, he's got great finishing as well. Yes, he plays on the left or he plays on a side and then uses his pace. Uh, it depends on the style of play. The style of play can always change according to the player they have. Vinicius uses more skill and agility rather than Mbappe. Mbappe is a bit more direct, but Mbappe can finish better, I think, than Vinicius. That's what that's obvious. The thing, wanting Mbappe is nothing wrong because any club in the world would want Mbappe. And Real
yeah,
Madrid still have the draw where they can always, most players, 90% of the players that they want will always want to join them, unless they are maybe Barcelona fans or something of that sort.
mm,
And but the question is, having Vinicius and Mbappe might be a problem. The club seems to be a cohesive unit. All right, Cristiano Ronaldo
yeah,
was a superstar. He left, but the club still thrived because they had fantastic experience, especially in midfield. They are
and
replacing that
camaraderie.
experience.
So they all
Exactly,
fought for each other.
exactly. Mbappe is not that sort of a player. There's something not very happy about him. He wants to be the best in the world, but he doesn't seem to know how to take on players. Cristiano
Yeah,
Ronaldo, he did have his ego, but if you notice, uh, if he also knew, maybe he couldn't manage with players at his level, and it was when he was getting older, he did create. I mean, he still wanted the ball and could beat them at pace that he wanted to. Like that's fine,
yeah,
but he managed to inspire young players. Mbappe doesn't
yeah,
seem to
definitely.
have that around him. He doesn't.
Currently, Madrid are playing in a sort of diamond formation with Bellingham at the tip of the diamond, as a withdrawn sort of false number nine, and he's the top scorer in the La Liga this season. Vinicius and Rodrigo are playing on as two of the most advanced players on either side of Bellingham, and they have Camavinga, Valverde, and Tchouaméni sitting back with Kroos and Modric. Now the problem is next year it's highly likely that Modric will not sign an extension and Kroos might be sold. Perhaps Kroos might stay for another year. Um, but the reason why Ancelotti is doing this season, playing in a diamond, is because he knows he has a lot of top class midfielders, and he doesn't have a lot of top class forwards. Joselu is the only number nine technically that Real Madrid have on their books. Vinicius and Rodrigo, apart from that, there's not really much. Brahim Diaz is there, but again, not much in terms of substitutes or reserves. I think when Mbappe comes in, it's going to be difficult to figure out how he's going to. The diamond is not going to work then, clearly. If Mbappe is going
Yeah.
to play, they're not going to be playing the diamond. But if he's going to come in, that means that he will either have to play on the right side, displacing Rodrigo, or he's going to play on the left and Vinicius will have to move his position. Either way, I don't see it ending well for both of them. Perhaps, as you said, people might change their playing style after they play with each other. Perhaps it all works out good. Perhaps Mbappe plays more centrally and allows Vinicius to play on the left, or the other way around. But as things stand, I find it very difficult to see how they can both play in the same team without disrupting each other or without letting people behind them uh, leaving the people behind them a lot more confused on how
No,
to find patterns of
see,
play.
Ancelotti will figure that out somehow. I mean, one of the the best coach probably tactically because he
Ancelotti's
has
management
he
style has always been you guys do your thing. I will give you a structure to work within, but the rest
exactly.
of it is
I
up to
like
you.
him for that because
Yeah,
he's
which is
someone who
great.
can maneuver any team according to what their strengths are, and he will figure it out. My question is having someone like Bape. Now, Bellingham suddenly seems to be well loved by Real Madrid fans. More importantly, Jude Bellingham is British. All right, he just saying this out there. Britain is going to be biased towards him. If there's a problem between Mbappe and Bellingham, the British fans are always going to pick pieces and try to. I mean, British press is going to take Kylian Mbappe to task, and the Spanish press as well is quite difficult. So that is going to be an interesting thing to
Yeah,
see.
I
I'm
think
sure.
that's probably true because Bellingham has already started to become, forget an English favorite. He's expected to be an English favorite, being an English player, but he's already turned a lot of favor within the Spanish media. Spanish media have taken to him quite well. And
Exactly.
Vinicius is their own kid. He's come from their academy. He's one of their own as far as they are concerned.
Yeah, he was bought in at a
Although
very
he's from
young
Brazil.
age.
Brought in at a very young age, right? Yeah, sort of similar to Messi trajectory. Brought in from a country in South America at a very young age, has developed through the academy, become a really good player. Um, I think it's going to be if Mbappe puts up a fight against them, you're right. It's very difficult to see how he comes out of that victorious against these two players. But on the other hand, Vinicius and Bellingham are not that sort of players who will put up a fight themselves. They are very accommodating players who seem to get along well and don't seem to have as much of an ego as many others. So perhaps I don't know. I struggle mostly with this just on the pitch, how it all makes sense on the pitch. That's what I struggle with the most. Rest of the things, perhaps Mbappe is going to deal with everybody fine. Perhaps he's been given this unfair name in PSG. Perhaps things will all get better. Those are not things which seem unredeemable, according to me, but it's just how they play on the pitch that really worries me. And whether it be a Neymar Mbappe 2.0, in which one player really suffers.
Let's see. Anyways, so that's it about Kylian Mbappe and his future prospects. Thank you.